Which is why his parents decided that a solitary sport like tennis would be better for their distracted son. At least that way his teammates would not have to pay the price for his distractions. And that's how he began tennis classes at the local club. Harsh fell in love with the game. In 6 months, he had become so good at it that he was playing with the older boys and beating them. Without realizing it, his parents had selected a game that had no scope for distraction. In football or hockey, the ball would travel off to the other end of the field, allowing a boy like Harsh to start dreaming about what his mother had made for dinner, or worse still, begin inspecting the undersides of some insect on the ground. With tennis, the ball just kept returning so quickly, there was no chance for the mind to wander. And better still, the absolutely flat, well rolled court didn't offer shelter to any form of insect life. Though Harsh was the shortest among those training under his coach, his first serve was spectacular. He fired the most number of aces, and nobody could match his stylish backhand. His father got all excited as the club's annual tournament week approached, but his mother knew better. Every week she expected a call from the coach complaining about her son's famous distraction. When the calls didn't come, she somehow got more worried. Was his coach also so distracted that he didn't know what Harsh was up to? One evening, Harsh came home with a big bruise on his forehead. Bruise means a colored mark that appears on the skin after you have fallen or hurt yourself. Happened during practice, did it? His father asked. Harsh was vague and evasive. Not really, don't really remember. His parents exchanged looks over his head. His mother's first thought was that he had been a fight and didn't want to talk about it. Since her son was the youngest at the court, she hoped he was not getting bullied. A couple of days later, she noticed a deep gash on his knee and gently suggested that if he wanted to skip tennis classes for a few days, he could. But he insisted on going the next day and the next and the next. As the bruises and cuts increased, Mrs. Rao started to panic. She became convinced that her son was being bullied, or that, while trying to keep up to the standard of the older boys, he was pushing himself too hard and hurting himself in the process. She decided to find out for herself. While Harsh was still at school one day, she walked across to the club. The moment she set eyes on the coach, all her worries of the past few weeks bubbled over, and she launched herself on a virtual attack of the poor, unprepared coach. The man was speechless. He had no idea what Mrs. Rao was talking about. No, he swore. Harsh had never been in a fight while on the courts. He was beating the older boys in tennis so easily. He didn't really have to struggle or push himself to the limit, as Mrs. Rao imagined. In fact, Harsh was guaranteed to win the club's junior tennis trophy with hardly any effort. The coach's face lit up. Yes, maybe that was the reason. Harsh's interest had now been taken up by high jump. Tennis no longer held any challenge for him, the coach felt. In fact, he was about to suggest that maybe the Raos ought to think of shifting Harsh to a more professional tennis academy where they could take his talent much further when the poor man was rudely interrupted. High jump, squeaked Mrs. Rao. What high jump? She asked, completely aghast. The coach looked even more confused. Harsh has been finishing his tennis practice early because he says he has to go for high jump practice too. Didn't you know about it, Mrs. Rao? The look on the poor lady's face told him that she didn't know, but was soon going to find out. On her way home, Mrs. Rao was furious. How could she think her interest in tennis would last a while more? Of course, the distraction bug was bound to catch up with him sooner or later. And it had with a sudden interest in high jump, right in the middle of tennis classes. She dreaded facing her husband's disappointment when he learned that his budding tennis champ had abandoned his racket for the high jump pit. That evening, when Harsh limped in, with yet another bump on him from yet another mysterious fall or fight, his mother confronted him. What is all this I hear about high jump practice? She said, catching him totally off guard. It was Harsh's turn to look shocked. Then the look turned to one of guilt. Oh, I wanted to tell you about it, but it just slipped my mind. But his mother was in no mood for evasive answers that night, and slowly she extracted an account from him for each and every bruise on his body. You remember that Wimbledon semi-final where Marat Safin threw his racket into the air after he won? He asked his mother. Mrs. Rao nodded, wondering what this had to do with her son. Harsh continued. After I started beating everyone on the courts, it got quite boring. Really boring. So I started fooling around and the coach gave me a solid lecture on the price of getting distracted. His mother looked surprised and then confused. Where was all this leading to? She wondered. So one day while watching a replay of Safin's famous racket throwing, Harsh looked wistful as he spoke. I thought what was the point of winning all those club matches if I didn't have a winner's style? You know, like throwing the racket in the air, Safin style, or banging shoulders like Peace and Bhupati used to do when they were friends and played mixed doubles or as partners? He trailed off sheepishly. A look of understanding dawned on his mother's face, and she had to struggle to suppress a smile. She finished the sentence for him. So that first bruise on your head was when the racket you threw up fell on your head. Harsh nodded sadly. But before his mother could ask about the other bruises and gashes, he continued. Then I realized that if the racket broke, Papa would not be too thrilled about spending on another. So I decided on another winning stunt. His mother couldn't resist snapping. You are absolutely right. Papa would certainly have not replaced a racket that had been intentionally tossed in the air, just for the sake of style. Harsh winced, as though he could still feel the pain of that knock from his descending racket. Looking at his feet, he said, I had seen another unknown player leap over the net after he had won a match at the Australian Open. He made it look so easy, but when I tried it, I kept falling. It took all Mrs. Rao's self-control not to burst out laughing right there. But she maintained her composure, somehow keeping a straight face. So that's why you have been going for high jump practice? She asked innocently. Harsh nodded, but with a look of total defeat confessed. But Ma, I am no good at it. High jump, I mean. The tournament is only a week away and I still can't jump over the net. Harsh looked dejected. Mrs. Rao thought for a moment. She had to come up with a solution that her son considered acceptable and that would put a stop to all the bruises and bumps. It was a tough one. Unlike all past cases of distraction, at least this time, Harsh was still well within the field of tennis. Maybe she had to thank Marat Safin for it. Dad gave her an idea and she perked up saying, I remember one US Open Harsh when Nadal won a match. He took off his shirt and threw it into the crowd. How about that for a stylish winning stunt? Harsh was silent as he thought of his mother's suggestion. He had enough of the bruises earned while practicing victory leaps over the net, so he was ready to try out anything. But was shirt removal as dramatic as leaping over the net? Being an ardent fan of Nadal's, he was ready to do anything his hero did. But would the older boys laugh at him? Finally, he made up his mind. He would pull off the shirt stunt only if he won the finals. Yes, looking relieved, he said, Yeah, Ma, that sounds great. Mrs. Rao sent up a silent prayer in thanksgiving. She wondered if all the cuts, bruises, and gashes her son had suffered in the course of his latest distraction would finally cure him of his crazy tendencies. But she knew it was too much to hope for. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.